Allahumma yassir wa la tu'assir. Barakallahu fikum. MashaAllah. Let us continue. In Al-Mu'taqad al-Saghir by Imam Ibn Khafeef in the Aqidah. Says this booklet, like other booklets in Aqidah that we've gone over, the information, inshallah, unless you're new to the lessons, the information should be familiar to you, the style, the words, etc. And we are continuing from here, where he says, may Allah have mercy upon him. وَيَعْتَقِدُ أَنَّهُ كَانَ وَلَا شَيْءَ مَعَهُ. And the intelligent, sincere, perfectionist who puts effort and is knowledgeable, he has the conviction that Allah was and there wasn't anything with him. Allah was and nothing was with him. The author takes these words, as you know, from the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, a hadith that has more than one version. Its words vary between its different versions. That the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, "Kan Allahu wa la shay'a ma'ah." Allah was, and there wasn't anything with him. And according to a narration, كَانَ اللَّهُ قَبْلَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah was before everything, or before anything. And according to a version, which is the one we usually cite, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, كَانَ اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ غَيْرُهُ. Allah was, and there wasn't anything else. This hadith is authentic, and it is an explicit proof that Allah exists without a place. Because this hadith confirms Allah's existence without the existence of anything else. And a place is something else. So Allah existed without a place, according to the hadith, clearly, explicitly. Yeah, that's not implicit. That's not implicit proof or indirect proof that Allah exists without a place. Because he's saying Allah existed and there wasn't anything else. Allah existed and there wasn't anything else. So the Sahaba, they knew this, they understood this. They taught this. They knew that the istiwa and the nuzul and other things that are mentioned in the Quran or the Sunnah are not literal. And they do not prove that Allah is in a place or a direction. Because they knew, as the Prophet said, كَانَ اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ غَيْرُهُ. Allah was, and there wasn't anything else. Subhanallah. Some person left a message for me. He said to me, give me a proof that anyone from any of the Sahaba, or that the Prophet or any of the Sahaba said, Allahu mawjudun bila makan. Allah exists without a place. When this is his argument, his request, when his request is, give me something that states only these words exactly as you have said them, then know that this one who's asking you has poor comprehension of the religion. He himself is going to give you things that their wording is a result of other things, according to his way. But he doesn't want you to give something that's a proof for your wording. He wants only an explicit reference that says your wording. Also, Kan Allahu Allahu mawjudun bila makan. Allah exists without a place. So when this is his challenge, and then you tell him, well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Kan Allahu wa lam yakun shay'un ghayruh. Allah was and there wasn't anything else. He'll say, this is not a proof. This doesn't say Allah exists without a place. And if you told him the hadith أنت الظاهر فليس فوقك شيء وأنت الباطن فليس دونك شيء. You are al-Zahir and there is nothing over you, and you are al-Batin and there is nothing under you. He will say, this is no proof. And if you told him, Laysa kamithlihi shay, nothing is like him in any way, he'll say, this doesn't prove it. Give me an explicit, an ayah that explicitly says, Allahu mawjudun bila makan. Give me a hadith that explicitly says, Allahu mawjudun bila makan. Or give me a statement from the Sahaba that explicitly says, Allahu mawjudun bila makan. This is underhanded request actually. Because he wants to say, if you cannot produce for me an explicit statement from an ayah or a hadith or the Sahaba, then this is evidence that it's wrong and invalid, unsayable, should not be said. And it's not the case. Yani, many things are proven by the words of the ayah. Yani, we extract from these words of the ayat of the Quran proofs. For example, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. This ayah, praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. This ayah is proof that Allah exists without a place. How? Because the ayah says, Rabbil Alameen, Lord of the worlds. Rabb is Allah, and Al-Alameen is the creation. And it says the Rabb of Al-Alameen. So when you say the blank of blank, then whatever's on both sides of are not the same. They are different. So the Rabb then is not Al-Alameen, and the Alameen is not Al-Rabb. Rather, the Rabb is different from Al-Alameen, and the Alameen is different from the Rabb by the words of the ayah. Rabbil Alameen, Rabb of the Alameen, means they are different. Then, the Al-Alameen is the place part of Al-Alameen or not? Yes, it is. Then, Al-Alameen is created. All of the Alameen is created, including the places. And Allah Ta'ala is different from that. He is different from all of Al-Alameen. So he exists without a place. And also other ayat in the Quran that prove this. So that's how you deal with the Wahhabi when he asks you for, give me explicit ayah that says this. If it's me, I'm going to tell him, this is a horrible Wahhabi debate strategy you are attempting to use on me. He'd say, well, first of all, there's no such thing as a Wahhabi. And second of all, what's so horrible about it? So you say to him, well, you're saying, give me an ayah that its words are like this. So that's a horrible way to argue. The Quran, it covers many things. Many things. All the many things that the Quran covers, not limited only to the way the Quran is worded, rather also extracted from the words of the Quran. From the implications of the words in there, we also know things without them being stated explicitly. And the same thing for the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Yani, for example, in قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. From these four ayat, it's possible to extract all the 13 attributes. Without those verses saying Allah has hearing, Allah has speech, Allah has power, Allah has knowledge, Allah has life, all of that can be extracted from the ayat of Surah Al-Ikhlas. Okay. And then he said, may Allah have mercy upon him. وَأَنَّهُ عَالِمٌ وَلَا مَعْلُومٌ. And that he is knower, even without a created known thing existing. So if we take out what's in the parentheses, and that he is knower without a known thing, without a ma'loom. But you should know, this aqidah of Ibn Khafeef, as nice as it is and beneficial as it is, It has some statements in it that require clarification. Yani, it has statements in it that yani, could be criticized. They could use additional exactification. Like here, وَأَنَّهُ عَالِمٌ وَلَا مَعْلُومٌ, and that he is alim, knower. Okay, no problem here. Wala ma'loom, he is knower when there wasn't anything known. But don't forget, known, the known is two categories: the eternal and what's not eternal. Allah knows himself and he is eternal. So in eternity there was something known. In eternity there was something known, which is himself. He knew himself. He is knower in eternity, and his self is known to him in eternity. So how could he be a knower and without there being any ma'lum? How would he be a knower without there being any ma'lum? Well, what he means is any created ma'lum, any created known thing. He is eternal knower even if there weren't anything created to be known. So, yes, this then proves the eternality of his attribute of knowledge, al-ilm, uh, and that knowledge, and that he does not deserve the name of knower because of something created. It's not that the existence of something created made him deserve to be called a knower, like what Tahawi said. ليس بعد خلق الخلق استفاد اسم الخالق. Like Tahawi said, ليس بعد خلق الخلق استفاد اسم الخالق. It was not after creating the creation that he deserved the name of the creator. ولا بعد إحداثه how's the عقيدة of Tahawi? ليس بعد خلق الخلق استفاد اسم الخالق ولا بعد إحداثه البرية تستفاد اسم البارئ.
إذا استفاد اسم الخالق
وليس بعد
إحداثه البرية استفاد اسم
وليس
البارئ.
بعد إحداثه البرية تستفاد اسم البارئ.
نعم.
Barakallahu fikum. And it's not after creating the creation that he deserved the name of creator. Correct. The Imam here, Ibn Khafeef, his words here are like those words of Tahawi. وَأَنَّهُ عَالِمٌ وَلَا مَعْلُومٌ. He is knower, even without a known thing, a created known thing. There was eternally a known thing, which was himself, known to him. He doesn't mean that here, Ibn Khafeef. وَقَادِرٌ وَلَا مَقْدُورٌ. And he is powerful, even without the existence of a controlled thing, without the existence of a powered thing or a thing under power, even without the existence of something under power. He is powerful. He deserves that name, even without the existence of something that is under power. وَرَاءٍ وَلَا مَرْئِي. And a seer, even without the existence of a created seen thing. Same thing here. Allah sees himself in eternity. He has sight in eternity. He has existence in eternity. He is an eternal self, and he saw his eternal self with his eternal sight in eternity. So what does it mean to say he is a seer without a seen thing? Was he not seeing himself? Yes, he was, but the author here doesn't mean that. But that's what Ibn Khafeef, rahimahullah, that's how he worded his metin here. وَرَازِقٌ وَلَا مَرْزُوقٌ. And sustainer, even without something sustained. Yes, وَخَلَّاقٌ وَلَا مَخْلُوقٌ. And creator, even without something created. Yes, although he used here an emphatic form of the name. So he said khallaq instead of khaliq. He said khallaq instead of khaliq. And the difference is that khallaq it means the one who creates a lot or the one who creates frequently. And that's mentioned in the Quran, this name of Allah. Bala wa huwa al-khallaqul alim in Surah Yasin. Al-Khallaq, that's like, in terms of pattern, his name. Al-Razzaq and Al-Qahhar and Al-Fattah. And saying that Khallaq has more meaning than Khaliq is like saying Ar-Rahman has more meaning than Ar-Rahim. And like we say Al-Qadir has more meaning than Al-Qadir. وَخَلَّاقٌ وَلَا مَخْلُوقٌ. And he was creator, even without something created. Yes, and this here is saying he is khallaq, even without a makhluk. This is the Maturidi way. So Imam Ibn Khafeef is one of those Ash'aris, the early Ash'aris, who agree with the Maturidis, which that's the case of most of the early Ash'aris. Most of the early Ash'aris, their way in this case was the way of the Hanafis and the Maturidis. And the way of the later Ash'aris is to say Allah Ta'ala Allah had the power to create in eternity when there wasn't anything created. They say, instead of, the Ash'aris, instead of saying خلاق ولا مخلوق, they say قادر كان قادرا على الخلق ولا مخلوق. He had the power to create and there wasn't any creation. That's not exactly the same thing here. Saying he's creator and there wasn't any creation, that's not 100% the same as saying he has the power to create and there wasn't a creation. Maybe inshallah we'll come back to this. So the way this is worded, all of what he's saying here is the Maturidi way. عالم ولا معلوم قادر ولا مقدور راء ولا مرئي رازق ولا مرزوق خلاق ولا مخلوق. And also here, when he says عالم ولا معلوم, he was knower and there wasn't anything known. This means there wasn't anything known existing, like we have in the translation. But existence is not a condition for something to be known. Existence is not a condition for something to be known. The non-existent can be known. So he knew about everything, every creation that would be. Its existence doesn't make him, or its non-existence doesn't prevent him from knowing. Its non-existence does not prevent him from knowing it. And its existence is not a condition for him to know it. So he is alimun. This is the meaning of alimun wala ma'loom, knower without a known thing. Wa qadirun wala maqdur, powerful without a powered thing. Wa ra'in wala mar'i, seer without a seen thing. But when it comes to seeing, yes, a thing won't be seen without existing. A thing won't be seen without existing. But our Shaykh taught us not to say Allah does not see what does not exist. Not that if it doesn't exist, it can be seen. No. Why did our Shaykh teach us not to say Allah does not see what does not exist, not because what doesn't exist could be seen, but because you can say something that has more manners and more etiquette. Instead of saying he doesn't see what doesn't exist, the Shaykh taught us to say his sight pertains to what exists and does not pertain to what does not exist. That's one of the differences between knowledge and sight. Knowledge pertains to what exists and to what does not exist. Sight and hearing pertain to what exists and do not pertain to what does not exist. Then Imam Ibn Khafeef says, وَالْعِلْمُ غَيْرُ الرُّؤْيَةِ. The knowledge is not the sight. Yani the knowledge of Allah is not the sight of Allah. The knowledge of Allah is His attribute by which He knows everything known. And the sight of Allah is His attribute by which He sees everything seen. But knowledge and sight are not the same. The known thing is not the seen thing by definition. I mean, it's not, something is not seen because it's known. And seen thing is not a known thing by definition. Yani, a thing is not known because it is seen. I'm talking broadly here. Meaning, you could see something and you'd say, what is that? You don't know. So you could see something without knowing what you are seeing. So knowledge and sight, they don't mean the same thing. Those are two different meanings. Why is Ibn Khafeef saying this? He is rejecting those who denied Allah's attribute of sight. And they said the meaning of His having sight is His knowing all of the seen things. This is blasphemy. And really, it's pointless to deny sight but to confirm knowledge. Why? What makes a person unable to confirm sight for God but able to confirm knowledge for God? Why this one was off limits for him and that one was fine? Both of them are attributes of His. They have here the same judgment in terms of being confirmed for Him. So why go through the trouble to deny the sight of Allah but to confirm His knowledge? Since you are going to confirm His knowledge, then confirm for Him sight also. And if you are going to deny His sight, why you are not going to deny His knowledge too? وَالْعِلْمُ غَيْرُ الرُّؤْيَةِ. The knowledge of Allah is not the sight of Allah. The sight of Allah is not the knowledge of Allah. وَأَنَّهُ يَرَى الْأَشْيَاءَ مَوْجُودَةً وَيَعْلَمُهَا مَعْدُومَةً. And that Muslim, that believer, that monotheist, that intelligent one who puts effort and he's knowledgeable, he holds the conviction that Allah sees things when existent and that He knows them when non-existent, yani even when non-existent. Meaning, here Imam Ibn Khafeef draws attention to the ta'alluq. If you remember from previous lessons, the ta'alluq, which is the pertinence. Here he is saying Allah's sight has a pertinence. It pertains to what is seen. And His knowledge has a pertinence. It pertains to what is known. Allah sees what is seen. And He tells us here, that which is seen, it has to exist. Sight will pertain to what is existing, not to what lacks existence. That's why he said, and that he sees things when existent. I mean, when those things are existent. Or we could say in existence. Mawjuda. He sees things in existence. The non-existent is not seen. وَيَعْلَمُهَا مَعْدُومَةً. And he knows them in non-existence. And in existence, though. Whether they exist or they don't exist, he knows them. Knowledge pertains to what exists and what does not exist. But sight pertains to what exists and does not pertain to what does not exist. And in Ibn Khafeef's statement is assigned to what some scholars say is compliance with what some scholars say, which is that some scholars say Allah sees everything. You might say, what? Huh? Oh, isn't that true? What would other scholars say? Yeah, that's true. Other scholars, they say Allah sees what's seeable. Allah sees what's seeable. Some say Allah sees everything. Some say Allah sees what's seeable. Or Allah sees what is seen, what can be seen. Both of those statements you can take. You can say either one. And Imam Ibn Khafeef, his statement is like those who say Allah sees everything. Because he said, Yara al-ashya, he sees the things, yani all things. Mawjudatan, in existence. We can squeeze in here all in parentheses. And that he sees all things in existence. And he knows them in non-existence. So, to what does sight pertain? To what is seen. To what does hearing pertain? To what is heard. To what does knowledge pertain? To what is known. To what does power pertain? To what is powered or controlled or under subject or subject. To what does will pertain? To what is willed or to what is meant. To what does everlastingness pertain? Does not pertain to anything. To what does life pertain? Does not pertain to anything. He says, may Allah have mercy upon him, فَالْمَعْدُومُ لَيْسَ بِمَرْئِيٍّ وَلَا هُوَ شَيْءٍ. So the non-existent is neither seen, yani neither something seen. فَالْمَعْدُومُ لَيْسَ بِمَرْئِيٍّ وَلَا هُوَ شَيْءٍ. So the non-existent is neither something seen, nor is it anything. Yani, the non-existent is not anything at all. Yes. And I was telling you about that. So I try not to say a non-existent thing. Because they don't say in Arabic, al-ma'dumu shay'. The non-existent is a thing. They say, and more importantly than saying in Arabic, rather, more importantly than that is that the scholars of monotheism say, yani the Sunni theologians, they say, al-ma'dumu laysa bi shay'. The non-existent is not anything at all. So if I follow that, even if I'm speaking in English, then I don't want to say a non-existent thing. So then I should say a non-existent matter or a non-existent issue. And I try not to even say something non-existent, but sometimes hard comes off of my tongue. I think I said it in this lesson already. But you might say, the non-existent is not anything. Okay, that's fair. Why did he say it? Because amongst the deviant people are those who said the non-existent is something. Don't be surprised if you hear an atheist saying something like that or a philosopher. This is one of the sayings of the Mu'tazilah, that the non-existent is something. What does that mean? It's an underhanded way to say that the world is beginningless. La'natullahi alayhim. And if the world is beginningless, this would imply there is no God. How does that imply that the world is beginningless, to say the non-existent is something? Because they are saying that blackness before it existed was blackness, was something. And whiteness before it existed was something. And shapes before they existed were something. So then if you follow, it means the universe before it existed was something. So that this is a way to say that the world has no beginning. And saying that the world has no beginning, or implying that, hinting at that the world has no beginning, is a way to deny the existence of the Creator. So the Sunni scholars, they did not say that the non-existent is something. They said, Al-ma'dumu laysa bi shay. The non-existent is not something. It's not anything. Here, Ibn Khafeef said, laysa shay. La huwa shay. It's not something. Imam An-Nasafi said in his Aqidah, wal ma'dumu laysa bi shay. Is not anything at all. His statement has more emphasis in it. Wal ma'dumu laysa bi shay. Laysa bi shay. It's not anything at all, the non-existent. والصفة لا هي الموصوف ولا غير الموصوف. And the attribute is neither the attributed one nor something other than the attributed one. So you know this. Didn't we learn in the different books that the attributes of Allah are not Him nor something else? And it's valid to say Allah is not His attributes nor something else. You can say it either way. You can say Allah is not His attributes nor is He anything else. Or you can say Allah's attributes are not Him nor are they anything else. So the attribute is not the attributed one. So then the attributed one is not life or power or will. The attributed one here means Allah. So the attributed one, He is not life or power or will or sight or hearing or speech. The attributed one is not the attribute. Because had He been the attribute, then He would need a self. Had the attributed one been an attribute, then He would need a self, because the attributes don't have independent existence. وَلَا هِيَ الْمَوْصُوفِ وَالصِّفَاتُ لَا هِيَ الْمَوْصُوفِ. The attributes are not the described one. وَلَا غَيْرُ الْمَوْصُوفِ. But they are not something else. Because if the attributes were something else, then it would be valid to confirm the attributes without the self that has those attributes. I'm trying to keep the words brief here, but if you have a question, feel free to ask. And also, if you need to review your prior lessons from the different books of Aqidah, we went through the Aqidah of An-Nasafi. He mentions this case, that Allah's attributes are not Him, nor are they anything else. Also, at Tafsiru fi Din, when we went over the sects, the 73 sects, and we went over the Aqidah section, and there also it has details about this case. Allah is not His attribute, nor is He something else. بل هي معنى في الموصوف قائم بالموصوف. Rather, they are a meaning. بل هي معنى في الموصوف. They are a meaning confirmed for the thing, confirmed for the thing described. Yani for Allah Ta'ala. قائم بالموصوف, existing by the thing described. Yani existing because he exists. The described one, that's Allah, he exists. So his attributes exist. That's the meaning of that statement. وَهُوَ عَالِمٌ بِعِلْمٍ وَقَادِرٌ بِقُدْرَةٍ. And he is knowing by knowledge, or I'd rather say knower. He is knower by knowledge. And powerful by power. You are familiar with this statement and the likes of this statement. This is refutation for the Mu'tazila, who said he is knower by himself, and powerful by himself, and speaker by himself, and hearer by himself, and seer by himself. That talk is blasphemy. Rather, he is knower by knowledge, and powerful by power, and hearer by hearing, and seer by sight, and speaker by speech, and powerful by power, etc. Wallahu a'lam. Let's stop there. Any question?
All right, those scholars that say the other statement that Allah sees all of what is seen,
Yes.
are they just saying it in a different way? They also, I guess what I mean is they do say that what exists can be seen.
They say what exists can be seen. Yes, they say everything that exists can be seen.
Oh, well, what's the difference between the two?
Allah sees what is seeable. Or Allah sees what is seen versus Allah sees everything. The difference between those is like saying Allah knows everything known, or saying Allah knows everything. But why some of them prefer, yani, in case of knowledge, I don't know that they have any, yani, some will say this way, some will say that way. As far as I know, it's the same for them. Allah knows everything known. Allah knows everything. As far as I know, it's the same for anyone. Why they found a difference between Allah sees everything seen and Allah sees everything, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's the difference for them. I mean, wabikum, but also the same thing. Some say Allah hears everything, and some say Allah hears everything heard. Here, though, the difference is more clear for me, because then the question would be, would a flavor be heard, for example? Is a flavor hearable? Would you say, when you say Allah hears everything heard, does that imply that there's creations that exist but are not heard? Such as a flavor, for example, or yani, a texture, for example. Or when you say Allah hears everything, that means everything, even the flavors, He can hear them, even the textures, He can hear them. They are hearable because they exist. So here they have difference. Some of them say Allah hears everything hearable, and some of them say Allah hears everything. But for seeing, I don't know what difference they can find, since we do for sure say anything that exists can be seen.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
So anything that exists is seeable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It's seeable.
But
Just you don't even have to say by Allah. You could just say seeable. Anything
but
that exists.
also Allah see, even though the creation was not created, He knew that he knew what will be created by His will and from eternity before they became into existence.
Yes.
So how do we say about Allah seeing the things that was not
Because
even?
knowledge is not sight. That's what Imam Ibn Khafeef was saying too, right here. Knowledge and sight are not the same.
No, I'm saying like Allah knows and sees even the things that was not created.
No, He knows the things that all of this here. والعلم غير الرؤية وأنه يرى الأشياء موجودة ويعلمها معدومة. They're not the same. They don't have the same judgment. Your question implies that they have the same judgment, but they don't have the same judgment. Knowledge and sight are not the same. They don't mean the same, and they don't pertain to the same thing. So sight pertains to what exists. Knowledge pertains to what exists and what does not exist. Sight does not pertain to what does not exist. Knowledge does pertain to what does not exist. This means what does not exist is not seen, although what does not exist can be known. So we don't say, for example, that Allah saw the creation in eternity, because that would imply that the creation is eternal. We rather say Allah has eternal sight. And when the creation came into existence, He knew it. He saw it. Sorry, I'm a little tired. And when the creation came into existence, He saw it with His eternal sight. His sight didn't change. And someone might say, how this doesn't mean that His sight changed? When it came into existence, He saw it and His sight didn't change? The answer is right. His sight didn't change. Just like when it came into existence, He knew it and His knowledge didn't change. So He knew it before it existed. When it came into existence, it didn't change because now the creation is created. He had sight before the creation existed. When He came into existence, He still had sight. And His sight pertained to those things when they were existing, not before they were existing. Before they were existing, He was attributed with sight in eternity. And that sight does not pertain to what does not exist. Go ahead, you can follow up if you want, or inshallah that's clear for you.
Barakallahu fiqh.
Ameen wa fikum.